Let me ask you, does that type of routine, does that help you? As far as staying out of a bunch of the shit that you dealt with through your life. Does the routine, is that like a linchpin in the whole system?
Honestly, bro, that's what gets me by because like I start my day when everybody's sleeping, so it's quiet. I don't hear nothing, and I just get to work, bro. I put my head down and just get to work.
Yeah, see, I kind of do that backwards. I'll be up till 3 in the morning for the same reason. I feel like everybody's out of the way. Nobody's gonna call me and interrupt what I'm doing right now. Everybody's sleeping, and I get to do what I'm done uninterrupted.
Yeah, and just like I call it a moment of reflection really when I get up early because I spend about 2 hours just kind of reflecting on everything, my life and my day and what's about to happen.
Always staying ready for the good that's to come.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, I've learned that when you've been through a lot of stuff, if you learn to appreciate what you've been through, life can be really really sweet at the end.
It's a different sentiment. These are things that us as young men, when we're running on that concrete, we just not thinking about. We're not thinking about later. We're not thinking about tomorrow. We're not thinking about what's to come, redemption. We don't feel like we got nothing to be redeemed from at that point. The world was ours for the
Yeah.
taking, and we ran for it. Let's talk early Chicago, man. Just give me your earliest, memories or impressions or feelings that you have for the city from being here, born and raised here, right?
Born and raised, man. Born and raised. My family owned a house right there in little village and on Christiana, and you know, I all my memories, man, are of just seeing the Latin Kings out there with the way they dress, the gloves, the hat. I always tell people it's like a lifestyle. It's embedded into the neighborhoods over there. So like the kids see that, and that's what they want to become. You know what I mean? And growing up like that, I ran the streets a lot because everybody was always at work. So I found my family on the streets, and just to see them out there hanging out every day and just showing love to the youngsters, it just really attracted me to that lifestyle.
Yeah, and it was a different look. It was a different look and a different swag back then because what a lot of people don't realize is that now everybody, just like rappers, everybody sounds the same. Everybody looks the same as far as gangs. Back then in Chicago, the culture was different colored sweaters with their logos on them, with their mascots on them, with their nations on them, and sweaters and hats and color combinations and jackets. And that's something that we lost somewhere in the 90s. You know what I'm saying? But I could understand, me being around the same age, seeing that. That's what we saw in the 80s. What we saw in the 80s was these dudes decked out in these sweaters and they held their hands a certain way and they were all together and they laughed. And when we were kids, we had yet to see, the ones that lost each other. We had yet to see the ones that did each other wrong. We just saw the, damn, look, they
Yep.
hanging, they kicking it, they got their sweater on. That's it. That's what I want to be. That's what I want to do. Different times for sure.
You
Different
know, I
times.
just I was lost as a kid, man. So like my main thing is that I was looking for a family, so I ran to the streets, and the older gang members really took advantage of that. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And I just I just started doing a lot of dirty work at a very young age. Started being very disconnected. You know?
I hear you talk about that a lot in your interviews about numb, about being numb. But I also feel like now at this age and at this time and through your journey, you're getting your feeling back. The sensation, the nerve endings are coming back to life.
Yeah, bro. I can't sit here and lie and say that I kind of know that I've gotten soft, but it's a good soft, man, because like I have feelings now. Like I feel guilty if I treat my wife a certain way. Like there's just there's feelings that I tell people I never experienced before. So it was like a school, man, and it made me very emotional for a couple of about 2 years, like learning to deal with the emotions.
Now, does that 2 years? When you say 2 years, that comes from what you call your heart transplant, right?
Yes, sir.
That's the
Yes,
beginning
sir.
of
When
that
I
two
got on
years.
my
Can you
knees.
explain that? Can you explain that to the audience?
Well, after years and years, man, of feeling guilt, feeling just like all the bad stuff from the stuff that I had done, the stuff that was done to me. On November 6th, man, I just got on my knees and I just told God like what? Like what am I here for? Like I just couldn't understand I was just tired, bro. I was tired of like just being miserable. I was tired of being sad. I was tired of just not having no kind of peace, I guess you could say. And I always tell people this, man. I can't explain what happened that day. I can't. It was something out of this world. And this is coming from someone that's been in some really dark places and some really dangerous places. Like I've seen a lot. And what I experienced that day, man, bro, like I don't need no more proof. Like what he did for me that day when I got my heart transplant, like everything started to change. I started remembering bits and pieces of my childhood, I guess that I had blocked out. I started remembering the true friends that were there when I needed them. I just started everything started coming back, and I started living 2 years ago, bro.
Hmm.
You know?
It's like a moment of clarity kicked it all off.
Yes.
We started on this channel following the Surviving El Chapo podcast. Again, me coming from where I come from, Cato and Val were known entities in my world and existed in my ears and my mind. And people, people I knew them, and vice versa. I think it's an interesting and amazing story. It's a story in itself. Just the kind of relationship that y'all had when you were younger. Now, is Val older than you?
Yeah, she's 2 years older than me, but that's like 20 in her years.
Absolutely, absolutely. She's probably watching us now. From what I understand, she took over the TV room, so she's probably paying attention as we speak. But we were blessed enough to speak to her here and ask her some questions and have her give some comments and some stories. How old were you when you met her, and what's the story? How did y'all meet?
I was 13 years old when I met her. She was dating the leader of the 59 SDs at the time, and she was with him. So that's when I had just turned a 59 SD, and she was just like one of the guys. You know what I mean? Just like one of the guys. Always looked out for me because I was you could say I was like the trouble one out of most of them because I was always homeless. I was always running away, blah blah blah. So like they had like I guess you could say like a little special place for me in their heart, you know.
And when you met her, she was already in the game as far as muling back and forth across the fence.
Yeah, she was always, that's one thing about Val that a lot of people don't like know is that she like was I would have to say more of a hustler even with the guys that she was with. Like she was always up to something, and he was the type that always wanted to share with everybody else, and there's not too many people like that in the game, so when she put me on, man, like I became her loyal, soldier, bro. Like not too many people help you out like that.
Absolutely, especially like you was out there. You needed what you needed to get by. She had other opportunities that she could have gone and took, but she was just good at what she was good at, the street. You know what I'm saying? She was able to maneuver the street and the people. I mean, for every person that probably looked at you and said, I can't control that guy, she was be there to rail you in. You know what I'm saying? So that at that age, like you said, 20 years advanced of what her age was and shit. Most of the people in our chat know your story, but before you went to prison in Mexico, you didn't do no prison time in the U.S., right? That was your first stint.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I had already done a couple of little state terms
Oh, okay.
in Springfield. Um, Small little gun cases. My first gun cases shootings. I got probation. Then the other one was like a month. I think I have 6 gun cases. They're all just taps in the hand.
You got any good stories of you and Val on the road? Anything we haven't heard yet?
We got crazy stories. I mean, you guys have heard the story where me and her almost blew up the house.
Right.
You know, but there was things that I didn't share on that because like I I I I'm getting better at telling my stories.
Mm.
And it comes with time because it's emotional, so sometimes you forget things. But there was a time that me and Val got a little greedy and we just wanted to keep all the money to ourselves. and, and she's like, let's just unload the cars ourselves so that way we don't have to pay the other workers because it was all like a little teamwork. drop off the car, drop the tank, get the stuff out, blah blah blah. Somebody goes deliver it. We wanted to do it all so we could keep all the money. Um, we started pouring gas into the sewer, and I started pouring it in there, washing the gas tank. I was really scared because they had already told us stories about people blowing up in the garages trying to open up these
Jesus.
gas.
Whew.
You know, the twins got a couple of those stories. They know, and it was a lot of people a lot of families that were working in the '90s were doing this, so it was happening a lot in Chicago. Garages exploding. So I kept washing it out, dropping it in the sewer, and all of a sudden I start hearing like how it sounds when the police knocks your door down. You know what I mean? So we started panicking. We thought they were like raiding us, but it was small explosions that were happening in the sewer because of the gasoline. It started getting louder and louder and louder, and it felt like an earthquake, like it was coming towards the sewer where we're at. We were in the back in the garage. Um, it's so funny because at the time, Aggie was living on top. You know what I mean? He had just got out.
Who did?
King Aggie from the SDs.
Mm.
He was living on top. We were downstairs in the garage, doing our
Jesus
thing.
Martinez just
And
subscribed on YouTube.
the fire department came, man, and the explosions just kept on happening. And me and Val were just like tripping because we thought we were like shit, that we were done because we heard the sounds of the fire department. I don't know if cops were coming, but he closed the garage. And one thing about Val, man, like I gotta say this, man, she always kept her cool right when stuff was going down. And she closed the door. She was like, just act cool, just act cool. The fire department came into the house, went down to the basement, checked the house. The flames had came out of the sewer so like a flame that it burned some stuff that was in the basement in the house. Um, they ended up leaving, and we started cracking up and we got right back to work again. But it was that life, man, that I tell people we thought that was normal though, and it's not. Like it's not normal to be under flight and fight mode 24/7. And stories like that, I tell people it's a dozen of them, a million of them, because that's how we lived every day. Just like I heard you the other day when you said, did you ever get sticked up, or did you ever get robbed? Like it's part of the game.
Oh,
If you're in the
absolutely.
game, you're going
I
to
asked
get
from a
robbed.
specific guy, so I'll ask you again because that guy, that dirtbag, was everywhere. Did Saul ever get you for something?
Nah, he didn't get me. Some of his friends got me, but he didn't get me.
All right.
At the end of the day, everybody's trying to look out for their own skin,
Mm.
you know, and that's what it is. It's just human nature. It's called survival.
Strongest will
Yeah.
is
Yep.
to survive. If you're in a box, you're gonna try to claw your way out of there, whether you end up with nubs for fingers or not.
And trust me, if someone's chasing you, I'm gonna trip you so you can fall.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's crazy to hear stories like that. And again, I could see that somebody like Val would have grown nerves of steel or was born with them, because like you say, for her, there's been a lot of positions that she's been in life where she could have just freaked the fuck out and things would have gone really bad. That being one of them. Anything could have gone wrong with that whole gasoline in the sewer situation and things go left. It took a calm state of mind and a little bull to get through it. But that was life at the time.
Yeah, she was over there just saying bye to the firefighters that were leaving. Thank you for coming. And I'm over there like pooping in my pants.
She's offering coffee and shit. Hey, have coffee. We're good.
Yeah, I learned a lot from her, man. That's why, like, I always, I give her the credit because not to glamorize the lifestyle she introduced to me, but because she took the time to actually show me how to be just to be a little bit better. Because when I started making money, I was on my way to go buy like some new Dickies and stuff like that. She was like, no, 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 no. She's like, we're gonna dress you like properly. And I remember going to the Jabot store in downtown Chicago, man, and being looking at the prices and being like, wow, like I made
Right.
it. But man, like yeah, man, she taught me the ropes, man. I can't sit here and not give her the credit.
She didn't just send you off. She gave you game. She put you up on game. It wasn't just go do this blindly. Nah, here, take a little game with you and we'll figure this out together type shit.
Yeah, bro. Even her boyfriend at one time almost tried to kill me because he thought that we were like messing around and like it was far from that, man. Like she always felt bad for me, bro, because I was always like homeless. I was always on the street, so she always tried to give me a place to stay.
Yeah, a lot of people think that there's men and women that can't coexist as friends and riders for each other without it being some other shit, you know?
I looked at her more like a leader, to tell you the truth.
So shortly, so how old were you when you ended up in prison in Mexico?
I had just turned 17.
What was the culture shock between that? So you get popped with a load, what, on the way in there, or on the way? What happened with that?
I was on my way back already. I was already like I was already like full of myself. I started getting cocky because I was making it by so many times, and I had like a strict schedule that I was sticking
Mm,
to. As soon as I left Apasingan, I would stop in my hometown in Moroleon, and I would kill the day. So that way, I was passing the checkpoint I needed to pass at that certain time that I needed to pass. And the day that I got caught, I was I was full of myself. I was coked out. I was drunk. I was like, man, you know what? I'm just gonna get this done so I could come again. Um, I started getting greedy. Really, tell you the truth, because they started giving me more money. They started giving me more leeway to do what I wanted with it, and I just my head got big, so I got sloppy.
very young, 16, 17 years old. What was the culture shock when you realized, shit, I'm walking into a Mexican prison? Like, in your mind, you didn't have a visualization or anything to compare it to other than an American prison. But did you know that this was going to be something different?
Um, I knew it was bad just because you gotta remember my nickname. You know, I kind of like was born and raised in Mexico too, so like I spent a lot of time in Mexico, so I kind of know how the life is over there. So I know it's a little bit more rougher than the United States. So I was expecting the prison to be bad, just not as bad as it was. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. What was the first thing I mean, I know you got into it early in there, but what was the first things you can remember walking in there as far as, oh shit.
Just a big black door, bro, that they opened like it was just humongous, and they opened it and just closed it, and they just told me to go find where to live. I can't sit here and lie and say that I wasn't scared because I was terrified. Um, I was terrified, and I had to pretend like I wasn't, and I had to pretend that I was tough, and I was just this little kid that I tell people, back then I didn't weigh 230 pounds like I do right now.
Right.
Back then I was like 120,
Right.
wet. It was a very terrifying moment, man, that I don't think I'll ever forget in my life.
So how long you was there? What, less than a week, and they got you for your shoes, and that was bad. You almost didn't make it out of that. And how long were you in the
They
infirmary over there?
they didn't even the doctor kept on saying that nothing happened to me because when they hit me in the back, it just closed up because it was so little.
Mm.
The ice pick was so thin that it just closed up. So they were like, nothing's wrong with you, but I couldn't breathe. I couldn't breathe, and my stomach was hurting really bad. So that's when they had to open up my lung. And I can't. My whole life has been like chaos, bro. Even from my childhood like days. If people follow my story, they know that my childhood was really bad. So when I got to prison in Mexico, bro, you could stay prepared kind of what I was about to go through. Think anybody else would have been able to go through that and be okay.
Yeah, no, it's a different kind of tenacity to see where you are today and to know where you are today. Because where we come from, it is in a literal sense, 21 is something to laugh at. The age of 21 in Chicago on these blocks, it's something to laugh at. Like what 21? So when I look at my brothers that did make it to 46, 45, 44 years old, it's like by 17 when you in that Mexican prison, it's like, hey, I'm ready to die by now. Whatever happens, happens. Let's get it. So,
I didn't even think I was gonna make it back, bro. You know, I my drug use got so bad, and I made many enemies in there that I shouldn't have. You know, I put my hands on people I shouldn't have. Um, there's certain things that I can't talk about. You know what I mean? But like, I messed up. I messed up being young, being stupid. And when I flew back to go pay that money off and just make my amends, is when I got a little bit of my, you know, my I guess you could say my belts back because they thought that I was pretty much like a loser, you know.
so you was in the red at that point, but you stood on your issue. They stood on their issue. You made sure you got them what they wanted, and it was a lesson learned from there. You know, onto other reckless shit that we're gonna try to do later in life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and they were all surprised, dude, when I flew into that island, that Mexican island, with all that money. I mean, I paid off my debt, and I apologized to the dude that I messed up with, but at the same time, I'm a businessman, bro. So I was doing it with intentions. It's not like I was such a good guy.
Right.
I was doing it because I knew that was gonna be my next connect.
Right. I have to fix this in order to keep doing what I'm doing. So you did 4 years in that Mexican jail, right?
Yeah, bro.
I heard you telling the story. I don't know if you were talking to Johnny Mitchell, who you were talking to, but I know that you were telling the story. It might have been. Did you pay that money back before the day that? I guess there was a day that you lived a Bruce Lee game of death scenario where they try to get you like Castro. They try to get you like 100 times in one day, and you were slithering through and getting by. And I believe the end of the story was like you speaking to Cato and saying, I want out of here, and him saying, go stay in AZ with Dog. Was that shortly after your return from Mexico, or there was time between there?
There was about, I tell people my life has been lived at a very fast pace. So like everything happened in like 6 months, a year. Everything was really fast if you put the years together. But uh that was after I came back from Mexico because when I came back from Mexico, man, I made a really good connect while I was over there. I made a really good connect, and he started flooding me with stuff. And this is when Kay started helping me, get on my feet. Kay and Valerie. Um, I pretty much went from being poor from one day to another. I was, balling. Um, a lot of people started getting jealous. A lot of people, a lot of my own boys started trying to rob me. It was like 50-50. 50 of them stood with me, 50 of them were trying to rob me, just a lot of bad stuff. And that day, it was 7 times, bro. It's seven or eight. I can't remember, but it was that many.
Bro, you're allowed to
Um,
forget one, bro, in a day that long.
and I remember getting to the studio because I drove to the recording studio. He was in downtown recording, and I was just tired, man. I was like, man, dude, I was like, I'm tired, man. I'm tired of watching my back. Now I gotta watch my back from all the SDs. I don't feel comfortable when you're not with me on 26th Street because I feel like some of the Kings don't like me, and they didn't. You know what I mean? Because I used to be a D. So like I was like stressed out, and I was like, I'm ready to go.
Iggy
I'm ready to
Hoderney
go.
just
I'm ready to change
subscribed
my
on
life.
YouTube.
And we made the pact that day that I was gonna leave to Arizona. And we did a business transaction where I gave him some stuff, and he gave me his Harley Davidson pickup truck. And I moved down here with it. And I didn't realize that when you move away from somewhere, bro, you bring all your problems with you.
Mm. You went and sullied up Arizona with all that Chicago shit, huh?
Yeah. So, as soon as I got here, there was a bunch of Land Kings here from New York, from like Florida. So I started hanging out with them, and I got into the same old stuff. And next thing you know, I'm a rough rider. I'm riding bikes now.